What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring people to do better, look better, feel better, and be better every damn day of their lives. And our Friday show, brought to you by Mark and Jay from North Coast Wealth Management. These guys are both Spartans 1995 grads, invested in this weekend's game in Miami, but also very invested. They want to be invested in you. They want to get your money working for you. They want to do what's best for you and your situation. You can call them at 248-626-2000. Visit them, northcoastwm.com, or email them at info@northcoastwm.com. Let them know you heard about them from Couch in the Rube. You'll get a free consultation to see if they are a fit for you. That's Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. Jason, how you doing, man?
What's up, buddy? How's Miami?
So before we, we could just do the show like that, as if I was in Miami.
Oh,
right?
we're not going to fake it?
Just do that.
Oh,
we're not going to fake it.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't lie to the listeners. So I am not in Miami, and I am what you would call a COVID breakthrough case. So I had a positive COVID test, and I feel fine. Mostly, I had almost no symptoms at all. The only thing that led me to get tested was I had this little bit of itchy, dry throat, and it was the exact feeling that I had the last time I had COVID in April. Like, that was the first symptom that led to everything else. The difference is this time I'm vaccinated. The vaccine's working. If I had felt the way, I do now, originally, I wouldn't even thought to get tested. And so I thought, I'm going to Miami. I'm getting on a plane. I ought to be safe. I'll just to be safe, I'll do this. And it came back positive. So now I'm in quarantine. We're doing the show remotely today, and we'll do it that way mostly next week. I think I'll be out of quarantine on Friday around then. So anyway, that's what's going on there. So if you were hoping to meet up in Miami, and I know I talked to a couple people about that, I will not be there this weekend. I will be covering the game remotely from back in Lansing. And
how's the wife taking that? Is she still going?
No, she's not going. Although I think she would have had a better time without me. So she's just gone. Yeah, and I'm sure she's a little disappointed. She's put on a stiff upper lip. It was more about what's different about now. And we're going to get to your Groovy Donut Twitter questions in a second, because this is an outstanding batch, one of the best. You guys are really good at this. You guys would be great show producers. In fact, if any of you ever want to be the producer of a show or podcast, you should put this on your resume, because you guys do it well. But what's so different now than in April? In April, it was like, who's your contact tracing? Well, nobody. I didn't leave the house really that much. Now it's like, well, I played basketball this day. I played soccer this day. I saw this. It gets a little more complex in terms of the people you saw leading up to when you had symptoms. The good news is I'm vaccinated. I feel well, and I think a lot of people I think there are a lot of people who probably have similar things happen to me who don't get tested, because I don't think I would have gotten tested if I wasn't going to Miami. I think I would have waited a day at least, just kind of chilled around the house, see how I felt. And the way I felt the next day was fine. And so I'm guessing there are a lot of, vaccinated folks who don't know when they have it. So anyway.
So what you're saying is the ivermectin works. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
I asked for that specifically, and the hydroxychloroquine. I said nothing else. I did get the antibodies. Some doctor wanted me to do it, even though I didn't really know if I needed it, which is like 4 shots to the stomach. That's weird. So at this point, I'm pretty well antibodied up between having COVID twice, vaccinated, and the extra.
He had a lot of space
shots
to choose from.
He did. They looked at my gut, and they just said, we might have room for 15. Do you want 4 or 15? So, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, what a pleasurable job for like a nurse to have to coming in a hazmat suit and put shots in somebody's gut like mine, huh? There's a job.
Were you
for
sucking it in? You're holding your breath.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to point out where the ripples were, like the six-pack. So, yeah, all fantastic stuff. A lot of fun. So, anyway, that's my story. I didn't want to, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I also don't want to lie to people and say that things are that I'm in Miami or that I'm in studio. If you watch on the live Facebook feed or on YouTube, that the giant head is in the place of me. So anyway, all right, are we ready to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
I think so, my friend. Eric Schultz is up first. Watching the Miami Appalachian State game last week, I'd say the stadium was about 50% full by the fourth quarter. How full do you think it'll be tomorrow?
I mean, it depends on the game. I think they'll get a better crowd. Michigan State's a little bit better brand. But certainly if MSU gets in control of this game, and I don't know that that'll happen. I don't suspect that'll happen. This is a fair weather crowd, and I think you'll see something similar to that. Only that you'll have more Michigan State fans there probably than App State fans. I think this is a destination trip. You think about Michigan State fans for a long time. It was expensive to be an MSU fan. Like in 2015, you wanted to follow them to Final Fours, to college football playoffs. To do all those what felt like momentous occasions, it was pricey. Well, they haven't had any cool trips in a while. One, there's been a pandemic. Two, they just haven't won that much. So I think there's a lot of people are doing this trip, looking forward to it. I was at one point very much looking forward to it, and so I think the MSU contingent will make the stadium look a little more full too.
I remember people taking out bank loans in 2014, 2015.
Yeah, I mean
trips.
back then they could have used Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. How do I do this? How do I follow Michigan State and still let my children go to college? Right? That was the big question back then.
Right. Next one from Eric. Does MSU need a 100-yard rusher to win at Miami?
I mean, not individually, but they've got to be able to run the football, I think, to some degree. And I think they will. Miami's run defense hasn't been real good. If they can't run against Miami, even if Miami's a little more stout than, say, Youngstown State, it's an issue. But you could have a scenario where you had 90 yards from Jordan Simmons and 90 yards from Kenneth Walker, and you're doing okay. So, and then Peyton Dorn had a couple decent runs. It doesn't have to be individually, but they've got to be able to run the football, and you'll know it when you see it.
Next one from Eric. Do you think the Colts regret it yet for not taking a harder look at Stafford?
Absolutely. Don't you?
After 1 week?
Well, I mean,
sure.
I think the whole offseason with Wentz, though, and the everything they dealt with there, and I'm guessing they do because they feel like they're in their window right now, and Stafford fits their window. To me, Stafford made a ton of sense there.
All right, next one from Eric. Do you think Graham could be a modern day boogeyman? There are a few things more nightmare-inducing to children than the thought of a sky-minute-up Graham lurking in a closet late at night with donut crumbs on his face and saying Dahlgren Audrey every night in his Yoda voice.
Dahlgren Audrey? No, that doesn't work. That wasn't very good. It's the
Jason. Do you think that
that is creepy though? That's incredibly creepy. I could be any creepy character in any movie I could play.
Maybe me be up next. Does Mel's time in the NFL give him an in with recruits' families? We're starting to see Gates and Irvin Juniors being interested in the program. Follow-up, are the juniors better to try for, or is it better to look for the unpedigreed player?
Well, shoot, man. If somebody's – I mean, I don't think it really matters that much except that, if you have a connection, right, you might as well use it. I think those are – I mean, I think that's always – I mean, Antonio Gates has a connection to Michigan State. He started there. Cedric Irvin, obviously. I mean, I think you use what you have. In terms of the first part of this, does Mel Tucker's time give him an in with recruits? I'm sure it's something he uses in recruiting. He knows what it takes to be in the NFL, to play in the NFL, to coach in the NFL. He knows what he's coached very high-level college players, and he's seen that transition and that development that has to be there. I'm sure it's all part of the recruiting package without question.
Maybe with this one. What is known about MSU sports bespectacled punter who is Google's Behringer? Goggles. Not Googles.
I think there's actually a good feature needs to be done. It's been a while since somebody did one.
Because he's a punter that wears goggles.
Are you fascinated by this mustache-looking goggled punter of Michigan State's?
As long as he doesn't get a punt blocked or drops one, sure, it's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did have a punt block last week, by the way.
I know.
And I think it was partly on him. Like, I know the snap was wide, but if you take 17 steps into the guy who's running into you, I think that's partly on the punter, too.
Needs new goggles. Jay Riemenschneider up next. MSU destroys what may amount to 2 patsies, and there's lots of hope and happiness abound by fans, and rightfully so. But Michigan does the exact same thing, and some MSU fans and talkers are saying they've done nothing and are overrated. Is that just the rivalry at its core?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think part of it is, you see what you want. Like when you see the opponent, the opposing fan base in your rivalry happy, you view it well, why are they happy? They've only done this perspective. When it's you view it as, look what we've done. Look how good it's looked. I mean, if you flip spots with both teams, people would make some of the same arguments, I think. I mean, there's no debating that Michigan looked really good against Washington. There's also no debating that Washington's a really, really bad offensive team, I think, at this point, and that wears on a defense. But Michigan's looked good to this point. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Of course, Michigan's the ranked team, MSU isn't, but they have beaten I guess their schedules have been somewhat similar to some degree. If Michigan State does if Michigan State wins this week, it'll get more recognition nationally. And I actually think Michigan State's gotten fairly good recognition nationally based on the Northwestern game and Kenneth Walker and all that.
Jay Riemenschneider with this one. This weekend we'll have Northwestern versus Duke and Stanford versus Vandy, the smartest schools in all of the Power 5. Considering what classes you took, your major, their campuses and such, which of those schools would you have loved to graduate from?
Really, Vandy, I guess. Duke, I'm not a fan of. I don't like Duke. I just don't like I don't want to say I know some people from Duke that I like, but I don't like Duke. I don't like that. And Northwestern, you got to realize I went to Columbia College Chicago. So we're a liberal arts school that was not hard to get into, big film school, Weeder College. In other words, they take every film school wanted to be the next Scorsese, every student who wanted to be the next Scorsese, and take your money and then weed you out when you realize it was actually hard work. Good journalism program. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed nothing more. I had an internship with Pam Zeckman at CBS 2 in Chicago in the investigative unit, and there were 2 Northwestern interns and me. And I worked my ass off to run circles around them, and they liked me more than them, and I worked harder and I was better. And you realize that that's just daddy's money at work sometimes. That's not talent. That's not, like you can get anywhere from anywhere, and I enjoy that. So I have a chip on my shoulder about Northwestern. I resent the number of media types who come from there and some of the opportunities they get. So Vandy would have to be it. Jason, how about you? Where would you?
By the way, it could be mommy's money, not just daddy's money. It's 2021, Graham.
Sorry. Yeah.
I would like to graduate from any college.
Okay, there you go.
Next one from Jay. If MSU wins Saturday, are they ranked on Monday?
Yes. And they should be because, I would guess, having done these rankings, if you do the rankings right and you sort of take a fresh look every Monday, you're not going to find 25 teams with a better resume than Michigan State if they've got road wins at Miami and Northwestern, even if those teams are flawed.
Next one from Jay. What is your favorite name for a newspaper? Gazette, Times, Register, etc.
I'm a Gazette guy. Always been a Gazette guy. It just seems very cool. I don't know.
Blade.
You're a Blade? Okay.
Is that like the Toledo Blade?
Yeah.
I like it. That's it. Next one from David Jackson. It's behind a paywall, but in Freep, there's an article that says Michigan is obsessed with beating Rocky Lombardi. Is this a joke? Shouldn't they be more concerned with perhaps every Big Ten school, particularly Michigan State and Ohio State?
Couple things. One, the paywall situation with the Freep and LSJ and all that. There is something that's in the works and really almost exists now. I just don't know if I can tout it, where you'll be able to get everything at the Freet for Michigan Lions Pistons coverage by having an LSJ subscription. And I would say vice versa, but not entirely, because some of our stuff won't be there. So a lot of my stuff will, but in other words, it'll be best to get the LSJ subscription to get everything else other than vice versa. But I'll share that in the coming days, certainly. So the headline on that Rocky Lombardi piece was, and it was, I don't want to say sensationalized, but it was definitely caught your attention. One of the things the writer did a nice job of is you read what they said about being fired up to play Rocky Lombardi, who beat them last year, and it doesn't sound that intense. But he then points out it's the tone they said it, because you can't tell that in words. And so apparently it was. I mean, they're very aware of who he is. This is why I don't like – I mean, it's a lot of points, so it's a stay-away game for me. But if I were to bet it, I would bet Michigan, because I think these guys are going to get after Lombardi. And I think he's got some limitations. And even though I think NIU's okay for a MAC team, I think Western Michigan is too. And we already saw what Michigan did to them. And they've got a better quarterback than Lombardi.
Next one from David. Do you follow the Pro Football Focus analytics? What does it really mean for Halladay to be the 9th highest graded linebacker in the nation with a Pro Football Focus grade of 82.2? Based on this Pro Football Focus stuff, both Halladay and Crouch, I wrote, not couch, are true stars.
I mean, I read it. I think it's interesting more at the end of the season, because obviously some of these grades are situational based. But, I mean, what does it mean? I mean, first of all, I think anybody who watched Halladay in that game against Northwestern looked really, really good. I don't believe that Crouch is there yet. Like, if they're grading him there, I've seen him in the wrong spots, and I don't know that those grades truly reflect that at times. So, I don't know. I pay attention to it. I think it's interesting. Do I completely understand all of the metrics that lead to it? I don't. I'll be honest, I do not. Do you, Jason?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good.
Next from David Jackson, former Reds GM and the athletic writer Jim Bowden ranks Torkelson as the number 1 prospect in all of baseball and Riley Green as the number 4 prospect. Should they make the club in 2021 and be starting by June, assuming Detroit upgrades at shortstop? Should the Tigers be a wild card club?
Well, if they do everything they should do this offseason, which to me is you go out and you get a shortstop for sure, and you have to add an arm probably somewhere. And maybe there's another bat. Like, I don't know what position, though. You do want to analyze, like, where do you need that? You got Riley Green coming up. You got Torkelson coming up. Like, where do you want that bat other than shortstop? I don't think it's all that clear. So I don't know that they will or not. But, yes, they should be. I mean, look at them. Right now they're a wild card club in the hunt based on what they've done since May 8th. They're that good. They played that well. They played above their skis a little bit. So I'm expecting them next year. I'll be disappointed next year if at this time of year we aren't talking about them in the wild card race.
They're tearing up AAA. I mean, they better be up next year.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you bring them up too early, you got to pay them earlier, right? Do you wait till June?
I don't give a shit. There's no salary cap. Don't throw that at me. Then pay them if they're good.
I'm with you. If you can't afford to play the game in baseball, don't buy a team.
Yep.
You should. You know, I do think they're.
Or if your dad gives you one, sell it.
Right. No, absolutely. And also, don't Major League Baseball. I wouldn't look. I've always said this about the Pistons got screwed by an owner dying. The Tigers got screwed by an owner dying. When you sell to old men, when old men buy teams, the wives and children ought to be part of the interview process. And if you don't hear what you want to hear from them, you don't sell to that guy, because that guy's going to be dead in 10 years. You know, so like to me, that has to be thought. It screwed the Pistons up for a while, and it screwed, I think, the Tigers up a little bit. Now they seem to be on the right track now, but that's always. I mean, yeah, there's no salary cap. You got to bump up the payroll.
Were you snorting ivermectin last night? You sound stuffed up.
Do I sound stuffed up? Well, I don't want to I'm not actually stuffed up at all. I can breathe fine through my nose. I sound a little nasally. I apologize.
It's fine. John McDonald up next. If the Spartans win, they may be ready to erect a statue for Tucker. The exuberance may match the Dutch tulip bulb bubble of 1637, but D'Antonio deserves props for creating a program where this is possible. What say you?
Well, okay. I do think D'Antonio deserves credit for where the program is now, even if it fell off a little bit, right? Because two things happen under D'Antonio. One, they had an incredible amount of winning, and people started to realize the possibilities for the program because they did things they hadn't done before. And so I think that's important. I also think that even though it fell apart to some degree at the end, talent-wise, there were some things in play. This wasn't a complete cultural rebuild. This wasn't run amok with, bad dudes and all. I mean, this wasn't. I think this was an easier rebuild than other jobs. They had to take, some players had to leave. They had to bring different talent in. But I think when you look at sort of the makeup of the program, this was the foundation D'Antonio built in certain respects was still there, which made it easier to do.
Jim Harden up next. How would you prepare a football team to play in the heat and humidity?
It's kind of by what they're doing. I mean, I went to a practice and fall camp. By the way, do I sound better now?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, good. And it was like 72 outside. It was like, oh, this is going to be great. Just do some interviews. The interviews were inside, and they had jacked up the heat in the indoor facility there at Michigan State, and it was insanely uncomfortable. Tucker was sweating. We were all sweating. You had back sweat. You had ass sweat. You had crotch sweat. All kinds of sweat happening. And that's what you do. You prepare for it. Now, I think coaches are different on this. If you're going to play in cold weather or rainy weather, you don't want the weather conditions in practice to prevent you from properly preparing to execute. But you gotta be used to what you're playing in. We had an absolutely brutal stretch in August, and so and I also think they know what they're doing with the indoor there, so they'll be ready for that.
Jay from North Coast Wealth Management up next. Realizing this question has been asked for decades, but how in the hell do the Lions fans keep going back year after year to support that team? The most rational answer has been, I love NFL football, so I go to games to see pro football. But it's barely pro football when one team is so chronically inferior. Wouldn't an EPL-style promotion relegation system have solved this problem decades ago? Relegate their asses to an arena football league and be done with them.
I love this from Jay. There's some passion here from Jay. And you can expect this passion with a little more level-headedness when you talk to him about your finances, by the way. 248-626-2000. That's Jay and Mark at North Coast Wealth Management. And if you have questions about investing for retirement, Social Security benefits, saving for your kids' college education, anything investment-related, they can help. And they are strategic wealth managers, and they are fiduciaries for their clients. That means your interests come first. They're going to try and get your money to work for you and assess your situation. Again, 248-626-2000 or info@northcoastwm.com is the email address. To Jay's point here, I mean, it is. I think it speaks to the remarkable loyalty we have as sports fans, though, right? I mean, it is hard to give up something that is ingrained in you. It is hard. I mean, he brought up the English Premier League here and the promotion relegation system. One of the things that I struggle with American fans in English Premier League soccer, and I love watching the games and gambling on the games and betting, winning money, and I enjoy the soccer. But in terms of being a true passionate fan about a team, is I don't know how the human brain at age 30 all of a sudden becomes a fan and truly cares. I just don't get it, and I wish I could. I wish I could feel that. But I understand how a Lions fan from age 6 is still a Lions fan at age 56, even though they've suffered. I mean, Jason, you're one of these people, right? I mean, it's just you got no reason to stay with them, but you cannot stop. You've tried. You can't stop it.
Right, and I'm 42 years old. I'm not going to pick another team and root for them. I feel immoral doing such a thing. So I don't know. I feel like all of a sudden, and it would be the Lions' way if I actually did adopt another team, they would start winning. So maybe I should do that.
Yeah, and the relegation thing will never happen in America because in our situation, people aren't going to buy teams if they are going to go down a level, right? They're not going to. It's just not going to happen. The ownership structure, people aren't used to it. It's just not going to. I mean, I wouldn't mind if you took. You'd have to do it within the NFL, so to speak, where the games are still part of the TV contracts and all that stuff. But you could do something where you said within the NFL, you're not going to promote an Arena League team or do anything else, but you could say every year that the top 16 teams are going to play in one league, and the bottom 16 are going to play in another. And every year the bottom 4 go down and the top 4 come up. And you could do that, I guess, if all the
We're
games
wasting
are on
people's time. It's never going to happen.
You're right.
Our friend Gavin Haas up next. What's the best part of winter to you guys?
You don't sweat uncontrollably and inappropriately, right? The coziness. I don't know.
I hate winter.
Do you?
When it's over, that's the best part.
I love a good bar. Like, I tell you what, I mean, like, Midtown Brewing Company, I always bring them up. And it is one of the coziest, coolest places. Like, when there's snow outside and frost on the windows, sitting there with a good American stout, have a meal, chat with a friend. It is a great, cozy bar. They do cozy and spacious as well as anybody. And I've said that, fantastic menu. Great place to start a weekend with their brunch menu and set up. They've got an outdoor covered patio, all that stuff. That's at 402 South Washington in downtown Lansing. But, like, to me, that's what I love. I love a cozy bar in the winter. I love that I'm not sweating uncontrollably. And I love the routine of things like January. I love Big Ten basketball. I don't know. There are things about winter I like it. I like
shoveling the driveway?
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Next one from Gavin. Favorite memory from high school?
Well, high school went well for you, Jason. What's your favorite memory?
Yeah, I barely graduated. Getting a girlfriend. She looked at my penis.
That's intense.
It doesn't get any better than that.
It does not.
And she didn't laugh.
Those are big moments.
Yeah.
Those
I thought that was better than the actual, like, schoolwork stuff.
Yeah.
Jessica Bosma, shout out.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, there's some things I liked in high school. You know, the first positive interaction with women. That sounds awful, like I was just paraded as a child or something. The first time, like, you know, girls pay attention to you on occasion, you wonder why the hell that's happening.
It was those wraparound shades you had.
Yeah, absolutely. It was that Kangol hat, you know.
Were you the guy that puts the sunglasses backwards on his ears and walks around? They're on his neck.
Oh, so it was not that guy.
You that guy?
It was not that guy. No. Student newspaper, loved that. Found a love for journalism in 1996 in the Zodiac in Sexton High School. I was a man ahead of his time. I mean, I wrote the column about how kids who come to school sick should be suspended. So I was ready for a pandemic.
You were woke all the way back then.
I was definitely woke.
Little Fauci couch.
No doubt about that.
Gavin Haas with this one. Does Rocky Lombardi pull it off Saturday?
I don't think so. I think the
what do you mean by pull off? Like win or cover that 27?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he does not have the wideouts he had. Michigan's going to be keyed up to stop him. I would be stunned. This I don't think there's a money line bet offered because the spread's too high. But this would be a Graham Couch 2009 special, where you put $2,000 to win, you know, 1,000 or what? Sorry, $2,000 to win 100 or 200, because
you trust Michigan that much, huh?
I think there's no way Northern Illinois. I say this, and they already beat Georgia Tech. I should be a little. This is why 2009 Graham doesn't exist anymore, because he got bit by this. As soon as I start saying it, I start sweating. Like I get nervous. I remember the feeling of that Northern Illinois Miami game and how badly that went. And I mean, it ended.
I think 2009 sports bookie Jason needed 2009 Graham.
You did.
We would have helped each other out a little bit.
Yeah, we would have been a great team. That's for sure.
Next one from Gavin. Also, fun fact, Graham, you worked with my Aunt Amy Snow at MLive when she was at the sports copy desk there from 2007 to 2010.
I do know Amy Snow. Very cool. That is a very cool connection. Also, if you are out this weekend at Art Prize in Grand Rapids, we just wanted to point this out to people. The premier sponsor of Art Prize is our friends at Skymint, right? They've got a giant tent, a lot of cool stuff going on. I have not. Have you been to Art Prize before, Jason?
I have not. No.
Grand Rapids. I have not either. But they've got some really cool stuff going on there at Skymint. A giant multicolored tent, and they are the premier sponsor of the internationally renowned Art Prize Festival. So that is a really, really cool thing. We're going to be doing some things with them later as we get into football season that we'll probably announce next week or very soon after. And again, if you just want to make Skymint part of your weekend and not be at Art Prize, go to any Skymint location throughout Michigan. You probably live within half an hour of 3 in the greater Lansing area, or go to skymint.com for location information and their daily specials. And remember, when you go in, Couch and the Rube promo code, Couch and Rube 20. Couch and Rube 20 gets you 20% off. They'll talk you through whatever you want: pain management, better sleep, more energy, whatever it is, edibles, pre-rolls, whatever it is. They're really, really helpful at Skymint.
Andrew Gauthier up next. My guess is Miami will game plan heavily to stop Kenneth Walker. Does Peyton Thorne have the big game mojo to carry this team to a big win?
You know, that's what we're going to find out. I mean, that to me is the question. I do think he has it in him. The real question will be, what does he look like when he's under pressure? And we've talked about this before. When things are uncomfortable for him, they've got a really nice defensive end in Miami. Like when he starts to get hit, or when he starts to have people at his feet, or when things aren't there, and it's not just the accuracy, it's the decisions. When to take a chance, when not to keep taking care of them with the turnover-free football. How much, to what extent will, is he needed to win the game to make the throw in that situation? The other thing that's going to happen is and I think this is one of Michigan State's real advantages this season, is that I don't think it's easy to pick your poison with MSU. I think it has been in recent years. You could say there's no way these guys can run the football, or they don't have the separation at wide out. We can gear up to stop the run. I think right now you've got a real quandary if you're a defensive coordinator. You look at those two wideouts in Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor. You look at a quarterback who's got some promise. You don't want to – you're a little on edge about those two guys. You also look at what Kenneth Walker and Jordan Simmons have done in the line. Do you want to stop the run first? What do you want to take away? I think if you take away Kenneth Walker, I think Peyton Thorne has the goods to hurt you.
Next one from Andrew. Based on what you've seen from Thorne so far, which former MSU quarterback would you compare him to?
People aren't necessarily going to want to hear this, but, I mean, there's a little bit of, I mean, you can go back to Todd Schultz a little bit, but I also see Brian Lewerke in him. I see a more accurate version of Brian Lewerke, and he's further along than Lewerke was, although Lewerke had some moments that same redshirt sophomore year. Lewerke had a live arm. He had quick feet. But Lewerke's problem was accuracy, and I think what we're seeing right now from Thorne is that's his advantage, and we'll see if that continues to develop. But there's not an exact quarterback I would compare him to, because I don't think he's a Connor Cook. They're different players. I don't think he's a Kirk Cousins. He's a better athlete than Cousins. I never thought Hoyer was that great. But, you could go back to Jeff Smoker a little bit, but young Jeff Smoker used his legs a lot. A different player, played really early. I don't think there's been anybody quite the same as him, but there's certainly guys you can take some elements from.
So a little piece of every quarterback that's played on Michigan State for
the
last 20 years?
A lot. Yeah, that's you're right. How was that? Was that good?
That was great. Next one from Andrew. How good of a bet is MSU on the money line this week?
I think there's more value on the money line than there is on the spread. Like this could be a close game, and MSU could not cover. I think right now the money line is just about plus 200, maybe a little less than that, and I think it's a 50-50 shot that they win, maybe even a little better than that. So, to me, I think there's great value on the money line. Again, it might not happen, but it's not about whether things happen, right? It's about the value. If you take good money line value picks over and over and over, you will ultimately win money. The problem is we're often not disciplined enough to do that. We take shots in the dark and
play blackjack after you win a big gambling win. Yeah,
that sort of thing. Oh, that can kill you. What's the most you've ever lost playing blackjack online?
Probably about 1,000.
Yeah, it's a brutal habit.
A couple $1,000 swings up and down. So
it's such an intense experience, and then you're just like locked in trying to get it back, and you keep playing until and then it's an awful feeling if you don't.
I did withdraw $1,500 one time, so I've gotten money out of the app, but it's taken it back a couple times.
That must have been the first time you talked to Mark and Jay over at North Coast, and they're like, "Withdraw, Jason, withdraw now."
Absolutely, urgent. Next one from Andrew. What's the best football game road trip for both Graham and Jason?
I don't know. What's the best football game road trip you've been on?
To be honest, I really haven't been on a road trip to go see a game.
Yeah, I've had a lot of different ones that have been great. I love Indiana. I've had some great trips to Iowa. Love the hotel there. And I'll give you a great example. Like it's really about the experience. I mean, the towns are cool. Iowa's a cool college football city, cool stadium. And on the way back on that Sunday, it's just me and my buddy Dan Kilbridge in a rental car for 7 hours betting on NFL games, listening to them on satellite radio. And it was just fun. That's like a great drive. Probably eating donuts. They weren't groovy donuts, and so they weren't quite as good. But that's got to be up there. I'm trying to think in terms of other football game road trips. I had some good ones when I covered Western. I mean, you talk road trips. Sometimes they're flights. I love Tallahassee. Had a great time. I was 26 years old. Love Virginia. I mean, I've been to a lot of really cool, interesting places, and I've been lucky to do that. And I loved covering a game in Idaho at the Kibbe Dome, back in 2008. So I've been very fortunate in that sense to cover a lot of really cool games at different college football venues. And by the way, if you want to make Groovy Donuts part of your tailgate this weekend or any weekend, like Michigan State's on the road, that doesn't mean you can't have a tailgate with Groovy Donuts. And Groovy Donuts right now, that they're making donuts just for this. They got like football designs, all sorts of things built for your tailgating needs, football-themed trips and upcoming tailgates and watch parties, everything. So go to groovydonuts.com and place your order today, or just get a dozen. Just stop in at Lake Lansing Road or in Williamston and enjoy Groovy Donuts while you watch football. It is an outstanding way to spend a Saturday and Sunday. And let me tell you this. I know there are all sorts of studies about people who eat stale donuts and what that says about you, and especially if you've seen the movie 9 Year Engagement. But as somebody who's occasionally sat down with a box of Groovy Donuts, if you sit down Saturday and you've got a dozen and you and whoever you're with can only get through like half of those, they're still really, really good on Sunday. I'll just say that. Go to groovydonuts.com to place your order or go to one of the 2 locations.
Greg Hardwick up next. For the gambling ignorant, what is a teaser and how do you buy points?
So a teaser is when you basically you take the spread down. So if the line is 8, say somebody's an 8-point favorite, and you do a 6-point teaser, that makes the line 2. And you do that with another game. So if you do a 2-team, or a 2-game, I should say, 6-point teaser, you would take one line, one team's an 8-point favorite, that becomes a 2-point line. Another team's a 13-point favorite, that becomes a 7-point line, and that becomes sort of a parlay together. Those two are together. You have to win both bets to win. And by bringing the line down, you don't win as much money, but it's still, 2 games together will pay decently. You improve your odds of winning, you decrease the revenue you'll be winning, if that makes sense. And buying points, some places don't do it. You have to look at the apps you're on. Some places don't allow you to buy the half point or buy the point. They'll just offer a series of alternative lines. But a lot of places will let you purchase, like, it'll be right usually when you're about to check out, let's say buy points or whatever, and you take a 6.5-point line down to 6, and instead of the juice being minus 110, it then is minus 130 or minus 120, and so there's a little more risk to get the same payout, if that makes sense.
And if you have a gambling problem, Greg, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Many people call that, right? Nobody calls that.
This guy, Greg does not. Greg is, he's asking basic questions.
I understand.
No way he's at that stage.
I'm sorry. I was just pointing out that no one ever calls 1-800-GAMBLER.
Well, the big thing is...
Like, I lost $1,000 playing blackjack. I'm not going to call 1-800-GAMBLER. There's no one going to ease the pain on that phone line.
Well, if you have to read the questions quickly, or the numbers quickly on like a podcast or a radio show or whatever, you can't even understand what they're saying. They do it so quickly. Who would ever know who to call?
Greg Hardwick up next. What will Notre Dame's record be during this 3-game stretch? Purdue, Wisconsin, which is at Soldier Field, and Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's interesting because they're a week 2-0 right now. There's no question. They could have easily lost to Florida State. They probably should have lost to Toledo. And Purdue's playing pretty well. They got them at home. Purdue's a 7.5-point favorite. If you want a value money line underdog play, you play Michigan State and Purdue on the money line this week. It pays really well. Again, that's high value, a little bit of risk, obviously, high reward. Odds are you don't win it, but I'm just saying that I consider a good value play. Wisconsin, we're still learning about, but that'll be an even battle, I think. And Cincinnati, we'll learn a lot about this week because they're at Indiana. So I think they're going to lose at least one of those, maybe 2.
Next one from Greg. What will be the kickoff time for MSU Michigan if both teams are undefeated?
I don't know who has the TV deal there because, I would say 3:30 if it's ESPN ABC because that's when big games happen. But Fox has tricked people into thinking noon is when big games happen with their big fucking noon programming. And it's all based around baseball conflicts and television.
We're MFers now?
And so if it's a Fox game, it'll be probably at noon. It could be a night game. They've tried to stay away from night games for MSU U of M on Halloween weekend, but could be, I would say, noon or 3:30. 3:30 if it's ABC, and obviously noon if it's Fox.
Next one from Chris Eastlick. If Jason had $40,000 again, how much of it would he spend to never hear a weather alert on his TV again? First of all, Eastlick, it was $41,500. Let's be accurate here. And secondly, I'm not paying a goddamn dollar because it shouldn't happen regardless. Just put a lower third, a scrolling lower third that people can read, or send me alert on my phone like they did last night for the Amber Alert. They interrupted the programming last night, Graham, the NFL football game. There was the Amber Alert. Okay, I don't want kids to be abducted. But I'm saying, what the hell am I going to do looking at my TV? I can't find the suspect. So take it off my TV. Send it to my phone if you want to. And as far as the National Weather Service, get your shit together. We can combine forces here, brain trust, and figure this out. It's 2021. It's scaring the shit out of our dog. Next one.
I love that passion.
Next one from Chris. Besides an LSJ softball game, when has the weather pissed you off the most?
Ooh, good question. It's got to be a heat wave of sorts. I mean, I don't even. It's any time I've been looking forward to something that you don't picture it being like 3,000 degrees, and it's 3,000 degrees. You're like, I cannot wait to go to this ball game with friends, and you're like picturing it for a week. But you're picturing it at 72 degrees or 75 degrees, and you get there and it's 97, and it just ruins the entire goddamn thing. It's just awful. It's yeah. I don't know for you, but that for me would be it.
Cody Tucker and I were driving back from Denver to Wyoming, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it started hailing intensely to the point where we were sliding back and forth behind a semi-truck. Denver to Wyoming, when there's no trees or anything like that, the weather is insane, so that was scary. Next one from Chris. Which MSU writer is most likely to be the "it's not the heat, it's the humidity" guy in the press box and any elevators at Miami this weekend?
Well, keep in mind, so I'm not there this weekend. Chris Solari's not there this weekend. We're both covering it remotely, and there is a Zoom availability on the post game, which there isn't usually on the road, so that'll help this weekend. He's unfortunately got his best friend was killed last Sunday, and he's attending to that. So that leaves a smaller, group of people. I'm going with Matt Charbonneau at this point, or Colton Pouncey, two big guys who feel the humidity. I mean, those two, they absolutely.
But Charbonneau doesn't seem like a complainer. He just grinds through it and just
everything's relative.
Everywhere.
Here's what happens. Sometimes you're next to Solari who's whining about something, and so you think, that's not a good look, and so you don't. You don't whine yourself, but I've seen Charbonneau whine here and there. It can happen. There's no doubt about it.
Dark Mantonio up next. I love college basketball and football, so in addition to watching all the big-time games, I also make it a point to watch all MSU games, even though I'm a Michigan fan. Do you think most MSU fans do the same with Michigan games?
I mean, it varies on the fan. I don't think everybody's because there are different types of fans. There are people who are like you, and also just love big-time games, love the sport, don't find Michigan playing interesting. Some people don't even hate Michigan who are Michigan State fans, I'm guessing. There are some who are indifferent and probably don't. I think there's a variety of people, but I think there are some who are probably exactly you with the reverse. And, I
think everybody wants to tune in and watch their rival get their ass beat. And if that's not happening, I think they flip it or something. Flip the channel.
That's fair. But I think some people are just, I don't know. When I was a kid growing up and I was a Michigan State fan at 15 years old, and there were some times where, I would root for Michigan State against Michigan, but I don't remember having this sort of vitriol towards Michigan. I remember I loved Michigan like every front-running 9-year-old when they won the national title in '89. And I remember not liking the Fab Five that much because that was frustrating when I was like 12. But I remember being a teenager and not having that. I still found what they did, big games, interesting. I still loved watching Michigan, Ohio State. I don't know. I think people are all over the spectrum on this.
Dark Mantonio with this one. Is there any truth to the rumor that Mark D'Antonio is under consideration to replace Coombs as Ohio State's defensive coordinator?
I had not heard that, but it would be a good hire if you were going to. I mean, Mark D'Antonio, he's at this stage of life, and I dealt with another coach who went through this, Bill Cubitt, by the way, Western Michigan, when I lived in Kalamazoo, who was the offensive coordinator later on at Illinois and briefly the interim head coach and got screwed by their hiring of Lovie Smith, which was a disaster. They should have just kept Cubitt in place. It would have been better off. And I always thought Cubitt was the guy who, like, you go to a struggling program, he'll win 7 games anywhere. Like, he'll be able to get an offense going. You put him in Indiana when they were struggling, Illinois, he'll get you to 7 wins. I don't know if he's the guy who can get you to the next level. But he's a smart guy, too, later on, that if you don't need a guy to recruit a ton as he gets older, like, that guy can fix an offense for you. So if your offense is what's going to get you fired or you're struggling with, and I think D'Antonio could be that. Now, I don't know that he wants to recruit anymore. I don't know that he wants to come back and coach. I don't think he will. But Ohio State's a place he has connections, he has love for. I don't think he would coach against his current players. That's the reason I don't think it would happen. And some of his guys are still at Michigan State. But if there was a type of job in a couple years that would fit him, if you wanted to still do it, you go fix a defense somewhere, and I think he's a guy who could do it.
Next one from Dark. Could Scott Frost buy himself another year or two with a huge upset over a rival this weekend?
Absolutely. If they beat Oklahoma, yes. I mean, that's you a quick way off the hot seat is to beat your rival. I think everybody in Oklahoma, the way they've been humming along in recent years, I think people would, because even if this season doesn't go that well, if they had a win over Oklahoma, people could feel like, okay, there was some progress. There was something that happened. There was something to hang your hat on. I absolutely think there's a huge opportunity for him this weekend.
Last one from Dark Mantonio. After hearing about Lisa Byington's new job, I learned she used to work in Lansing. Graham, have you ever worked with her?
I have, quite a bit. Like I've known Lisa a long time, and she's fantastic, incredibly talented, incredibly nice person. She was already – was she gone from WLNS when I got here full time? I can't remember the timeline, but I had known her before then. I've had drinks with her in Chicago, and she's lived there for a while now, going on to Milwaukee. And it was a huge deal for LNS, I think, to have somebody of that kind of talent as the number 2 spot for like 9 years. It was pretty incredible how long. And she was doing some BTN stuff while she was still there. But that was she's an absolute real talent. And I think people discovered her a little late, and I'm glad she's finally getting some of the props she deserves. Hey, Jason, let's take a really quick break and come back and dig into more of these Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Room, presented by Skyman Premium Cannabis and Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place. Trust matters, especially when it's your money. Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management work hard to build a relationship of trust by providing thoughtful, objective guidance and placing your interests first. Invest with knowledgeable financial advisors who are on your side. Call today and tell them you're a friend of the show for a no-cost, no-obligation consultation. 248-626-2000 and ask for Mark or Jay. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com. If you're looking for a relaxed vibe, great food, and an outstanding beer selection, Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing is your place. Enjoy their famed chicken and waffle fries, fish and chips, or any of their delicious burgers or salads. Midtown Brewing Company also offers 40-plus beers on tap, including ciders and seasonal offerings and daily happy hour specials. The spacious and cozy vibe makes Midtown Brewing Company a perfect place for a beer with a friend, a work lunch, or to watch the games on its big screen TVs. If you'd rather eat at home, Midtown Brewing Company offers a terrific carryout menu and free delivery on orders of $20 or more. Visit MidtownBrewingCompany.net or stop by 402 South Washington in downtown Lansing for the Midtown Brewing Company experience.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, which is the premier sponsor at Art Prize this weekend. A giant tent for Skymint. You can go over there and take part in some of the things they have going on. And look, a Skymint tent is a good place to be. And remember, if you're at a Skymint location throughout Michigan, the promo code CouchandRube20 will get you 20% off. Our Friday show is always presented by our friends Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. And these guys are Spartans 95 grads. Mark is a certified financial planner. Jay's a lawyer. Both are licensed, experienced wealth advisors. They want to help you invest and plan for your retirement or whatever your financial needs are. Visit them online at northcoastwm.com. You can call them 248-626-2000 or shoot them an email at info@northcoastwm.com. Let them know that you heard about them from Couch in the Rube. You'll get a free consultation. See if it's a fit. I think you're going to like these guys. Again, Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. All right, let's dig back into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions.
Nathan Brook up next. Who wins MSU Miami?
I like Nathan. Nathan just cuts to the chase. He's sitting there waiting to hit, whatever he's going to hit on the bet. Hit send.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of. I picked Michigan State, so I'm going to say that. But it feels like there's almost an expectation that Michigan State's going to win at this point, that people are assuming this upset's going to happen, that they're the better team. And maybe I'm reading that wrong. But it gets to a point where you're almost a little like, wait a sec, is this too much? Too many people that are high on MSU? Should you go the other way? I think MSU is the better team right now. I'm going to trust my eyes on that. I think they've been the better team the first 2 weeks. Granted, one team played Alabama. But I think there are some issues that Miami has. And put it this way, the two writers that cover Miami that I've talked to extensively this week, and including the one we had on the interview Wednesday, you can listen to that show with Mandy Navarro, that they both picked Michigan State. Or they both think MSU is likely to win. So I'm going to go with Michigan State.
Next one from Nathan. Where does Cedric Irvin Jr. commit to?
I don't know. I'm curious to see that his commitment's coming up here. Certainly, it would be cool to have Cedric back around the program, I think. He was an interesting character, a big star of the 90s. I think a lot of people feel a certain way about him because he was a period of time that people look at incredibly, incredibly fondly. So I'm trying to remember let me look real quick on the date on Cedric Irvin. He said it is September 22nd is when he's announcing. So That'll be next week, and he is going to announce his decision. But what I like about Cedric Irvin Jr., that I don't like about the way a lot of kids do their announcements, he writes, "I've come to a decision, and I will be announcing my commitment on September 22nd." Like, he let the decision happen. Okay, the decision's happened. He knows where he's going, and I'm going to announce it then. A lot of kids are like, I will be deciding then, even if they don't know, and maybe they do know and they're just not real good with words, but that's not really the way decisions happen. You don't know that you're going to know what you want to do in 2 weeks. You want to come to the decision whenever that time is and then make the announcement. I like the way he phrased it.
Dale M. Wine up next. Is this Miami-Iowa game September 2017 in regards to the line, which was -5, and where MSU could be? I have no idea what this makes no sense. Lots of similarities in my view. Young quarterback and team coming into season as a true unknown. The win that day really altered perception. So is he talking about a game in 2017, Iowa-Miami, right?
Yeah, so the game I would to be most scared of if I were a Michigan State fan is actually the Iowa game last year, and the notion that you look at an Iowa team that had struggled out of the gate, had 2 tough losses. Michigan State had just beaten Michigan, and looked like a real competitive game on the road, and Iowa won 49-7. Now Michigan State's a totally different team, different offense, different quarterback, and I don't think Miami's is put together as that Iowa team, so I don't think it's the same. But you can read too much into Miami's struggles to this point in the season is what I'm trying to say.
Steve up next. Is it wrong to root against Matt Stafford because of Kelly Stafford? No.
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
Yeah. Are you rooting for Matt Stafford and the Rams the way you thought you might?
Like standing up and cheering? I mean, I'm watching them, and I am happy because Stafford threw 3 touchdowns. They got a win. I wasn't like standing up. And they covered the 8.5. But by the way, Kelly Stafford has a podcast on Mondays, the day after she calls it. So try listening to that. Mike DeShelter up next. Does anyone ever make the Buick field goal challenge at halftime of the MSU football games? Seems like a comedy show bit.
I don't know that. I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen somebody. I'm usually not paying attention at that point because I'm in line for an ice cream cookie sandwich or writing the first, trying to have the, quick takes percolate in my head a little bit. But I feel like I've seen somebody hit it. It's not that hard, right? How far is it? It's not that far, right? It's a good question, Mike, though. I will start paying attention because now I'm curious to see how difficult this is.
Jojo up next. What's your favorite season of college football to watch as a fan? Mine was 2007. First year I truly watched a crazy upset or matchup every week before Saban's dominant reign began.
Yeah, and that's the first year of the Big Ten Network, too. That was interesting. That's back when the Big Ten Network really struggled. I mean, I remember that year.
You mean it used to be worse?
Yeah, well, I was covering the MAC that year. Here's the problem the Big Ten Network had, is they didn't really understand, and you could see it if you were from a MAC point of view. And I remember watching the early games again when Bowling Green and Western and other teams are playing in these games. And one of the things, it was like they assumed only the fans of the Big Ten team were watching. Like, that was still the telecast for both teams. And they were so uneducated and dismissive of the other team that first year, it was embarrassing. But they've gotten quite a bit better. I don't know if I have a favorite year, a college football year as a fan. You got to understand that the first year I covered college football will always be special to me. And so this is sort of not fandom, but 2005, the year Greg Jennings was a senior at Western Michigan, they opened at Virginia, which is an amazing place to cover a college football game. Back then, I don't know if it's still this way, a lot of the guys wear ties, the women wear sundresses, they're swaying and chanting, there's a hill that some people sit on, there's columns, there's an outdoor press box. It's just outstanding in Charlottesville, Virginia. And that whole year, I mean, they had kind of they were 1-11 the year before that, and they went 7-4, and there were a lot of interesting storylines. And it was the first time I was on a traveling beat, and so, to me, I've romanticized how much fun that was. And that same year, I mean, Jennings led the nation in receiving. I was seeing a really great player. Another kid from Kalamazoo I was following, Jerome Harrison, led the nation in rushing at Washington State. It was just a fun time. I was 25, 26 years old. So that to me, I wouldn't say as a fan. As a fan, it's 1995. The year my dad came home and surprised me with Michigan State football season tickets, and to spend those 6 Saturdays in Nebraska that year, and with Lawrence Phillips and Tommy Frazier and all those guys. The Michigan game, the 28-25 win, and Penn State with a near. I mean, that was just we were not a season ticket family, and to get to do something like that was with him too was pretty special. So I would say those 2 years, a decade apart, 95, 2005. Do you have a year, Jason?
No, you covered it all.
Okay,
I like it all the college football I can get. Mojo with this one, not looking to troll here, but why did Michigan fans take themselves so seriously? They shared one natty since World War II, haven't won the Big Ten since 2004, and their most successful coach said he never competed for championships, only to win the Big Ten and get to the Rose Bowl.
So every fan base takes themselves seriously. Let's start there. Michigan State fans take themselves seriously. Michigan fans take themselves seriously. I mean,
Incarnate Word fans?
Incarnate Word fans. If you're a diehard fan of something, I mean, I got lots of friends who are Southern Illinois fans. They take themselves seriously. And so fans of any team take themselves seriously. Now, if the question is why don't they have a bit more humility given some of the struggles of late, it's hard to do for a lot of fan bases, but it's especially hard to do, I think, for a fan base where that's not ingrained in who they are and who they've been. And I mean, humility is not the strength of the Michigan football fan base. But that said, I also know a lot of Michigan fans, and you have a lot of Michigan fan friends, who are actually more realistic and humble about things, and it may not seem that way certain places on social media, but they're more humble than you think. I don't know,
man.
Jason,
maybe my handful of friends are different then. Not very humble.
Okay, well,
they're on the attack. Let's just say that. If you mentioned, if
I
I would have read that
wrong,
tweet,
then.
if I would have sent him that tweet, he would have gone on and on about my buddy Jordan about stuff. So, I don't know about my Michigan.
What would have your buddy Jordan said? Can you do it in an Aussie Jason voice, like? Or in a
no,
yeah, no.
What? I don't
do
know.
Jordan or do just Jordan impersonate Jordan. What would have he said? What would his reaction to that been?
Just something about fuck Izzo, Larry Nassar, something, D'Antonio, Blas ass. I don't know. Oi noi. Okay. Next one from Mojo. If you weren't doing your current job, what do you think you'd be doing? Dream job, or reality?
It's a great question. I'd probably be in athletic administration in a community college.
Wow. All right.
That sounds great to me. I'm not saying. I mean, I would love to do that job.
Yeah, I believe
I would absolutely love to.
That's weird.
I would love to be the athletic director at Atlantic Community College. I'd be so happy.
All right. Jeffrey Daly up next. September 26th, I believe MSU is 3-1. Lose to Miami, beat Nebraska, beat Miami, lose to Nebraska, which is better or worse. I'll stop tweeting and listen.
Okay, which is better or worse? You want to win the conference games. You'd rather lose the road game to Miami and come back and win a conference game. That's just the way it is. In terms of bowl pecking order, in terms of staying in the conference race later, nobody wants to lose this week. But if you're a Michigan State fan, winning at home against Nebraska is more important than losing on the road to Miami.
Max Christian's up next. With a new Big Ten, ACC, Pac-12 scheduling alliance, looks like the goal going further is each team to play another team of each conference every non-conference season. Were this put into place next year, which team from each conference would be included in MSU's dream schedule?
So I think, and MSU has a game right next year against Washington as it is, so that'll just stick on the road in Seattle. But I think if you were to do the dream for Michigan State, and they played at Arizona State recently, and there are lots of places to, but to me it's USC right now. You want USC before they get good, but you want the brand of them and that sort of trip playing. You know, I think USC would be it. I think in the ACC, that's a good question. Virginia is a great trip, as I mentioned. I would love to go to Virginia. I don't know but do you want to play Clemson? I don't know. Jason, would you want to play Clemson if you were Michigan State?
Sure, why not? You have to see where you're at. You have to see where you rank, you know?
Yeah.
Like when they played Alabama, you got to see where you ranked.
If you want struggling big brands, you want to play Florida State and USC. But I think Clemson is there.
Ethan Sharmello up next. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched, but if MSU were to pull it out in Miami, would this Nebraska game be the most exciting, energized game at Spartan Stadium since 2015?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of 2017. There were, they've had Michigan games there, but they haven't won them.
I'd say yes, just because of the pandemic and.
Yeah,
fans haven't seen it in a while.
How much buzz there is going in? You're probably right. Not counting openers like the opener in 2016 or whatever, but yeah, you're probably right.
Next one from Ethan. When it's all said and done, where will this current MSU Hoops freshman class line up with Bridges and Cassius's class?
That's a good question. We'll see. That's a great class. Obviously, they did a lot, and they did a lot in stages. There's almost 2 classes there because, Miles Bridges. First of all, Miles Bridges was supposed to be a one and done. He stays a second year. In the midst of a lot of things going wrong at Michigan State, he stands in front of the Sparty statue and says, "I'm coming back. I want to be here." When he could have gone as a lottery pick. I think that's significant. And then the next wave of that is Cassius Winston leading them to a Final Four, and then the next year winning another Big Ten title, and that right up against the pandemic. There's a lot to catch that group. Obviously, winning a national title and a Final Four is where that begins. I do think the one thing that gives it a chance is I don't think there's a one and done in the class. I think there's potential NBA talent though in the class, and that they're going to have several years together. But to get to where what Winston did is he was a 4-year guy. So I would. It would be foolish to say they'll stack up well, but just ranking wise and potential wise, of course they could, and that should excite Michigan State fans.
Last one from Ethan. Is Max Scherzer the most underrated pitcher of all time? Feels like his greatness is just now being appreciated.
It's amazing how he still seems as good. Like he hasn't. You look at other guys of the era that we think of the Scherzer Tigers era, and they've fallen off. The Kershaws and the Verlanders a little bit, but like that guy's still incredible. I don't know if he's
I think Kershaw's still incredible as well, but I think the people that respect him, the baseball guys, know how good he is. I think that's just what's most important. Is he going to be a nationally known guy? Probably not.
Kershaw is like the Tampa Bay Rays is to Harry, and like the Seattle Seahawks are to me. Kershaw, if I bet the Dodgers when Kershaw's pitching, he doesn't win, so I don't really view him in the same light as other people. But that's a spite situation.
I don't even know how to say this. Molinable Spartan. If we win Saturday starting 3-0, what is the ceiling for this team?
Depends how it looks, and it really depends on can they run the football against good teams. And I don't even know if, we'll know that about them this week. And then defensively, what are they? They look good like they could tackle in space, against Northwestern, not as much against Youngstown State. How many holes are there on defense? How much better is the offense than the defense has weaknesses, so to speak? So I don't know that this Saturday determines all that, but certainly 3-0, it gets you very close to the 4.5 already for the over for season wins. It keeps the buzz going. It keeps the confidence and the swagger going. And it was interesting talking to Gino Torretta for a column I just did on the 1989 MSU Miami game, which was an epic game at Spartan Stadium. He said they played teams back then, even Florida State teams, that were probably more talented. And yet even the Florida State guys will say, it just looked like you guys knew you were going to win. There was a swagger, a confidence, an air about them. And the more you win, the more you get that. And I think there's something, and obviously you got how you respond when you get punched or things go wrong is important. But I do think the more you win, the higher the ceiling in that sense. The other thing, we're still discovering about other teams. So the ceiling is relative to other teams. Indiana looked really bad against Iowa. This week they have Cincinnati at home. We learn a lot about Indiana. That's a road game in mid-October for Michigan State. Rutgers looks pretty good, but their offense, I don't know. And I do think Michigan State's going to play a lot of games that they're capable of winning and capable of losing, to Graham Stout it. And I believe that before the season. I just believe they're a little more capable of winning it than I did a couple weeks ago.
Next one from Molinable Spartan. Will Mel Tucker or Jim Harbaugh win a Big Ten title first?
What's your thought here?
Tucker. If I'm putting money on it, I'm putting it on Tucker. I just don't think Harbaugh can do it.
What's interesting about, we talk about Ohio State being in the way, and then you get a year like this where all of a sudden Ohio State looks very vulnerable. And you see that with Clemson. You see that. You realize that nothing is necessarily forever. So I don't think Harbaugh is going to be around all that much longer. I tend to think that he's more likely to leave sooner. So I'm going to say Mel Tucker. I don't know which if you said this season who was more likely, I don't know that Michigan State would be the answer there. Yeah, I don't know if we know that either way, but just based on where those two guys are in their tenure, I would say Tucker.
All right, next from Mile Noble Spartan, will Mel Tucker bolt for an SEC job like Nick did, given the opportunity?
Great question. I don't, I mean, they call him Midnight Mel in Colorado, left in the middle of the night, and now this is his footprint, but he's been down in Georgia, he's been down in Alabama. I don't think you want to replace Saban. I don't, and you'd have to be. I don't think you go leave Michigan State for anything but a couple really good jobs. But if Georgia or Alabama or Florida type job come open, or LSU, are those better jobs? It's a tough
what
league.
What is Tucker's dream job?
Correct.
Is it to coach Alabama or something like that? Then you could understand. I could see it happening.
And if it was like Ohio State, that's. You're not going to leave in the Big Ten. You're not moving within the Big Ten. So if the Big Ten is where he wants to be, he's where he's going to be, and he's going to have to. I don't know that like Oklahoma and Texas leave the Big 12, and while there's tons of financial incentive in that and going to the SEC, neither one of them has an easier track anymore to the playoff. I think where Mel Tucker is now, he's got a better track to the playoff than you would in a lot of the SEC places, unless you're Bama. But, again, if you're Bama and you're replacing Nick Saban, that doesn't seem like a great job either, because that wasn't a good program right before Saban, and whoever replaces them is not going to do better than Saban. So my sense is he'll stay just based on those analytics, but I don't know where his head or heart is on that stuff and where the money will be, frankly. He's got a good situation, though. The hiring of Alan Haller is a guy that he is close with, that he likes. They'll work well together, I think. So I think that was, in terms of administrative bliss, that was a good move in terms of Mel Tucker's future.
Stephen Campbell up next. What do you need to see Saturday to feel that MSU can compete for the Big Ten East title this year?
If you want me to move, what would it take Saturday against Miami for you to think MSU could compete against Ohio State and potentially win 8 Big Ten games? Like, what would you have to see? Because it's not just winning the game. Like, what would you have to see to go, whoa?
Like a score, like 41-10 or something crazy like that? I mean,
yeah,
or like a Peyton Thorne drive, last-minute drive to win the game on the road. It'd be a big road win. Something like that would change my mind definitely.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I think we'll know it when we see it. Where we go,
yeah.
But yeah, no, it would take a lot to get.
And I
to
think
that
that's
point.
this game, though, Graham. I think it's this game. You'll see it and you'll go, oh, okay, or you'll go, I'm not sure.
Right. We may emerge from this game knowing a lot more.
Did I just Graham Stout that?
You definitely Graham Stout it. Well done.
It's
well
so
done.
fun to do that. Next one from Steph. Over under.
I built a career on that.
Sorry to steal your bit. Over under top 20 recruiting class for MSU next year.
I'm going to say, when I say over, I mean higher than, I'm going to say 24, 25. It is hard to get a top 20 class. Not that Tucker can't do it. He's got a couple 4 and 5 stars, but you look at classes that D'Antonio had that had some 5 and 4-star guys that were really great classes. They were still in that 23, 24, 25 range. It is hard to get into the top 20. If you count transfers, who knows? I'm going to say he's going to be lower than 20, but not that far behind it.
Last one from Stephen Campbell. Can we please get a collaboration with Groovy Donuts and Skymint Boston Cream Edible? Yes, please. Also, I request pics when Graham sneaks a dozen into the media area at Spartan Stadium.
Yeah, I don't have to sneak very hard. Like, I figured out in my bag how to get food in, and they don't really check that much anymore either. I shouldn't say this stuff out there, but I think I can get. And I'll work with Andrew and Monica at Groovy Donuts to get.
I thought he was talking about edibles.
Oh,
yeah, sneak those up there.
Yeah,
some of those guys need to loosen up there.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be great if I was able to get the entire press corps on Skymint for the game and to see what we wrote and produced and some of the stand-ups, like Audrey Dahlgren's stand-up post-game on Skymint.
Jim Comparoni.
Oh, man, Jim's
be hanging great. Upside down in the press box.
The analysis would
like a bat.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm telling you, you're totally right on Groovy Donuts and Skymint and some sort of collaboration. I mean, this should be a thing. Groovy Donuts is just, I mean.
But can I say, though, edibles that taste good scare me because you go, oh, man, I would definitely like another one that tastes so good. So
But maybe we can get Skyman to work with Groovy Donuts with a donut that has like an edible in it. That's probably the safer.
There we go.
Better way to go. Oh man.
Yeah, but
okay. Andrew, Monica, you listening? Let's
logistics need to be worked out on that. But
yeah.
It works for the show. Jeff Shaper up next. Do you have any insight as to what is going on with the defensive ends? Graham, I believe you mentioned it was a pandemic related. I haven't heard this talked about much, but isn't it kind of a big deal for a team that is struggling to get pressure and defensively as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, when I say pandemic related, that means, and I don't have it, on record but my sense is that was the reason I'm not in Miami. And I don't know why I'm beating the bush around this. I think they, but what I don't know is some of it can just be, contact tracing. I don't know to what extent who's, positive, who's not, and all that. But yes, pandemic related. Put it that way.
Franco up next. Will the Spartan pass rush light it up?
And ask, I mean, these two questions go into each other. And Mel Tucker was not really committal to who would be back this week from that group. And I think that will play a role in it, too. And the pass rush, to Franco's question, they did a really nice job. We saw it against Northwestern of like the Xavier Henderson blitz and the timing of when they did that. And I think there's going to have to you want to do some of that, but because you really do want to corral De'Aaron King. Like you want him to feel it. You want him to feel pressure. He's a guy, if you don't feel pressure, I understand you got to contain him because he's a running guy, but you really want that guy to feel some pressure. And I don't know. That's one area that I don't truly believe in yet on this MSU defense. But to be fair, they were missing some guys last year.
Next one from
last week. I mean,
from Franco. Odds MSU goes up tempo to mess with Miami, and the idea that the Heat is going to wear the Spartans down.
Yeah, I don't know that the Heat's going to be that much of an issue. And that said, I'm not going to be on the field, and I'm going to be in an air-conditioned house now watching it. But I am curious. I think we all are. I think there's a lot more faith in Jay Johnson maybe than there was a year ago, right? And you see the benefit of having weapons. And I will remind people that Dave Warner looked like a pretty good coordinator in 2014 when they scored 43 points a game, and he had weapons and options, and things worked, and he had a line and a quarterback and a receivers and a running back who are all of upper Big Ten quality. And so that makes it a lot easier. A lot of guys look good. It's the guys who can turn chicken shit into chicken soup that are the real talents. But I am curious to see what they do and what sort of, I think we all are at this point, what sort of things they have up their sleeves to help this team along.
And the last one from Franco, if a game is a great one, is it harder to not eat a bunch of donuts while writing than if it was blah?
If you put a box of Groovy Donuts in front of me, I will eat them. I mean, and I think I speak for most people. And if you think you can do without, try it. Just go to Groovy Donuts once, ask for a half dozen. Get they got fall donuts out, some great fall styles is the wrong word. Flavors is the word I'm looking for. You can also, of course, get a tailgating package, and people will remember your tailgate if you have donuts. People still talk about the donuts at our wedding. If you have good donuts at a tailgate, people will come back. They'll remember it. That will be something that sets you apart. Go to groovydonuts.com. Make Groovy Donuts part of your tailgate.
Ben up next. Who has the better week to face Ohio State? MSU. OSU overlooks MSU as Michigan is next week. Or Michigan, MSU beat Ohio State up.
Yeah, it's probably MSU just because Michigan's at the end. I mean, it depends on health and a lot of things, but Ohio State's waiting for Michigan, right? And that's a game that, I don't know if there's really a better time, and it'll depend on where those two schools are. I'm Graham Stouting the shit out of this. I don't know. I don't know. I should just say I don't know.
Bottom line is I could see that game going one way or the other.
Next from Ben, what are your rest of season projection grades for MSU's offensive position groups? Example, running backs are A+, tight ends are a C-, etc. Thanks for the example.
I do think running backs is going to be a real strength, obviously. And tight end is a position they've been able to cover up by. They have some solid players there, but they also have Connor Hayward, who's I think has been essential for this team. You're going to see more and more Malik Carr, so I think that group will be okay. The offensive line is the question, right? Right now, the offensive line is an A, but they haven't. We'll see what happens when they play a little higher up. Quarterback, again, these are incompletes right now, and it's hard for me to project.
Next one from Ben. What has been your best response to Appreciate You? I was in a bar in Tampa and got the bartender right back at you, Slick. Also, football's back. Killed it at Sunday's NFL viewing party.
Outstanding. I love hearing this, Ben.
Did you just walk into the living room and just yell it at your at your friend's house? Hey, Ben, what's up? Football's back. Thank you, Ben.
You know what I love about Appreciate You when you say it to somebody is it's more personal. It's a step up from Appreciate It. I appreciate it is thank you. Appreciate You is more personal. Somebody appreciates you, that touches you. That's different. That's deeper. That's why I Appreciate You so good. I don't know what my best response has been, but people respond favorably. I'll say that.
See, then I say I appreciate you more.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Next one from Jeff Peterson. What will be the over-under for the number of times we hear either a Lions coach or player say fans need to be patient? They better not. I think only Carlos Monterez will probably say that, not Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, I think most Lions writers understand that it's unspoken at this point. I think Lions fans understand that this year is going to require patience, but we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear that word, that phrase, right? That's the sort of thing. It is what it is, but it's unspoken.
It's like a mechanic having your car for the past 42 years and never fixing it. Bad analogy. That's
a great analogy. You should do this for a living.
Jeff Peterson. Al Avila, keep or fire after the season?
You have to keep him, right, Jason? I mean, at this point,
he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and there were points where maybe he deserved to be fired, but now you've got it. It looks, I don't want to say rolling, but it looks like you're headed in the right direction. You don't want to change up now. You don't want somebody who's going to piss off, AJ Hinch. You don't want somebody who's going to change the scouting department or do something weird. You don't want management that wants to put their own stamp on things. Like, it's working right now. I think you have to keep him.
And I think Avila will spend because Illich, I mean, there's no way A.J. Hinch took that job knowing that they weren't going to spend the offseason. Next one from Jeff. What will be the big takeaway from Saturday's game with Miami?
If I knew that, I'd write the column, but I'm not Drew Sharp, so I can't write the column ahead of time. So I think ultimately we'll leave the game understanding a lot about a lot of things that we maybe have inklings about now. And that's what's great about a game like this. Northwestern provided some of that. It surprised it. And Northwestern wasn't great, but it was a measuring stick to say, okay, this team is going to be better than we thought in certain realms, and they're going to be okay here at the very least. Miami is a chance to say, well, this team is actually going to be pretty good. And that's what I think. We just find out a lot about this team in a lot of ways this week.
Next one from Brett. Where do you see Xavier Henderson getting drafted, assuming he continues to play well?
Yeah, I don't know. I get this wrong sometimes with guys because I think and I haven't done the research on it. He definitely looks like an NFL guy, but I don't know. I don't know if he's how the NFL sees him, and it's something I should do more research on because sometimes you don't realize that somebody is a second or third round guy, and people, Kari Willis was a guy I didn't realize how much the NFL thought of him, and then he was going to be starting in the NFL so quickly. And then there are guys like Raekwon Williams, who I was sure that was going to be a really good NFL player, who's struggled to be on the fringes of the league.
Brett, with this one, would Draymond ever come back to be the head coach at Michigan State?
I don't think you never say never. When I talked to him last about this, I don't think he sees the grind of college coaching and what he wants to do. Look, what Juwan Howard's doing is interesting. Now, he was a coach in the NBA for a while, but a lot of guys that make a lot of money, hundreds of millions, the idea that then they're going to do a second chapter in their life grinding out what it takes to win at the college level is something not a lot of guys want to do. But that said, I think he loves MSU. I think he would be enticed and intrigued by it, I should say. I just don't know whether I don't know whether he would make sense at what point. Like, keep in mind, a guy like Juwan Howard had been an assistant for a while in the NBA, and even he brought in some real polished, experienced assistants.
Last one from Brett, over under. Kenneth Walker, 75 rush yards, 2 touchdowns.
Over, right?
Well, it's 2 separate bets, right? So do you think 2 touchdowns? I think
2
over on the rush yards, I think 1 touchdown.
Yeah, and either way, if you don't have a half on the touchdown, if it's 2 touchdowns, you're probably best bet going to push on that. I wouldn't touch 2 touchdowns. I would go over 75 for sure.
Mark Snyder up next. I can't think of the last time MSU went on the road early against a major Power 5 team other than Notre Dame and won.
So let me grab my media guide right here. Hold on. That's the one advantage of being here. Oh,
let me grab my Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. So on the road, other than Notre Dame, where they played a lot over the years, I'm looking for games that, they lost to Oregon in that 2014 game.
Is it right next to your Sears catalog?
It is. How did you know? Let's see here. Lost at Cal. Yeah, it's a great point. It's not something. First of all, they don't do it a lot, and they've had Oregon teams, and those games have not gone well. Rutgers, what were they at that point? Didn't win at Nebraska when they weren't in the league. Louisville was not a high major at that point. It's a great point. It traditionally has not gone all that well for Michigan State. So now they've played some doozies. Like, keep in mind, you go back to 89, 88, and all those years. They played in 88 Notre Dame and Florida State back-to-back weeks in non-conference. The next year they played Notre Dame and Miami in back-to-back weeks in non-conference. They used to play. Now, they tied Syracuse in 1990. I'm not going to go through the whole guide here, but you're right. It's a good point.
Thank you, guide. Mark Snyder up next. Graham, have you done any research and found out what is the melty moments of Hurricane concessions? Will we get halftime picture of a Cuban sandwich that is seconds away from being devoured?
You will not, unfortunately, with me stuck here in Lansing. I will have an outstanding meal.
I was about to say, there'll be a sandwich devoured.
Well, here's the thing, though. One of the things about being in quarantine is we did this really well last time, and my wife did not get it. I'm like living in the den. In fact, last time she slept in the guest room upstairs, and I slept in our bedroom, and I'd wear like an N95 to get upstairs. But otherwise, I live in the den. This year, the den couch is like a fold-out sleeper couch. I am sleeping down here too. Like, I am doing the show from the den. I've got a sofa, a television, but she is pretty much. I may lose a lot of weight. She's pretty much controls my meals.
She might padlock that door then.
I don't know what I'm gonna get, but I will ask for something good. Chances are there'll be some pizza involved,
just
and maybe
carrots.
some groovy donuts, but probably some groovy donuts, and maybe we'll order takeout from Midtown Brewing Company. That sounds like a plan.
Oh, what a company, man. Mark Snyder with this one. Does the Couch family have any interest in pooling their resources together and buying DeLuca's? We as a community cannot lose that place.
Yeah, no, it sucks if they go under. They're looking to sell it. I know, one of the owners has been battling leukemia for a while, not in great health, and I think they're getting out after a long time, and I hope a lot of times places don't stay the same. I just hope that pizza's so good and that place is awesome. I hope they find somebody who values it, who wants to keep it going.
Vanzi up next. Did you cover Darius Paul at Western? What a missed opportunity.
Yes and no. Yes. I'm trying to remember if he was just as I was. Yes, I did, I think. Or just as I was leaving, he was there. I covered his recruitment. And, yes, he was a missed opportunity. Big-time player who they had for a minute. And that's sort of the story of mid-major basketball with him.
Nick Palmer with this question. What do we think of the Swag Surfing entrance?
I wasn't paying attention. I think I did have a cookie sandwich in front of me at the moment. Did you see that entrance?
I missed the damn touchdown. Went to go flip the chicken.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Do the players like it? That's all I care about. Do recruits dig it? That's all I care about. Regarding jerseys, any of that song shit. It's not meant for me, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't care.
Yeah.
Next one, Bo McJunkins. Is PJ Fleck actually a good football coach? Or is he just a good recruiter, motivational speaker, dressed in barber clothing on a football sideline? Minnesota seems like they hit their ceiling in 2019.
He's a very good recruiter. And the question I've always had is, he was great at recruiting the Minnesota level at Western Michigan. The question is, can he recruit the Wisconsin and, higher levels at Minnesota? And he also, I think, knows what he doesn't, what he isn't. He's never been a coordinator. He can't fix an offense or defense. He usually has a good staff around him. And so, yeah, I do think he's a pretty good coach. You don't win 13 games at Western Michigan if you're not a good football coach.
Next from Bo, if Mel Tucker said no to Michigan State, would we have actually hired Brett Bielema? Hopefully not. Would have taken a chance on Creighton instead. Speaking of Chris Creighton, how is he still at Eastern?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, he's a guy that I think could do pretty well somewhere else and deserves a chance because he's done what's really hard there. I don't know if he does an interview well. Brett Bielema is not going to be the hire at Michigan State. I'm almost certain of that.
Next one from Bo McJunkins. Graham, what stadium was the best in the MAC when you lived in Kalamazoo?
I mean, Western on the hill with like a fall day with the leaves changed, with the train coming by, a night game at 7 o'clock with the Amtrak. I mean, that was about as good as it got. Trying to think what else was at that level. It was not. There were some crap stadiums in that league. I mean, Northern Illinois is a wind tunnel. Kelly Shorts is just here. Buffalo has too big a track around it. It's not great. Akron has a brand new stadium that's pretty swank that opened in like 2010. That's maybe Akron.
Next up from Bo, I need to get this off my chest. Why are gas station bathrooms always like a bad accident or war zone? How do these people manage at home? There's more power and worse aim on some of these people than a Joe Milton pass. It's because they don't have to clean it up.
Yes. They don't respect other people. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
like if you're, if you take a number 2 and don't flush the toilet, you should be arrested.
Would you? Yeah.
I mean,
because it ruins it for everybody. I mean, you go in there.
Yeah, but what's wrong with you? I mean, you know what
right.
I mean? Like you want the next person to see your, come on,
just
it's
treat
gross.
it like it's your home toilet.
Scott Johnson up next. Why doesn't Brendan Quinn know that there's an L in the word golf? Every time I hear his stories, I'm confused why he's talking about the Lions quarterback.
He's a Philadelphian. That's his accent. They can't pronounce things.
Professor, how desirable is the USC job?
I actually think it's pretty desirable. I mean, I understand it's not, you're in Watts or whatever. You're not the greatest campus in the world, but I think it's a place that you can win big, that people in L.A. actually pay attention to more than UCLA in a lot of ways. I think the brand is still pretty strong because the one thing USC has going for it that some of these other schools that have fallen off, I mean, USC was winning a decade ago at an incredibly high level. A lot of Nebraska, it's been 2 decades now, and I think it's more recent. I think it's a place that still has some sizzle to it, and you get to live in Los Angeles. I think it's a pretty desirable job.
Mr. Neurotic Pants. Up next, Graham. Did you say you had a scheme to play for Slippery Rock back in the day? Did I hear that?
I did. So I wanted to walk on to I went. The way it works is you have a 5-year clock with college athletics. And so in Division I, your 5-year clock starts the second you step foot on campus. So if you step foot on campus at 18 years old, you can't stop that clock. You got 10 semesters total for that 5-year clock. And in Division II, though, it's the same thing, 10 semesters, but it's not concurrent. So what I did is I went 10 full-time semesters. I went the last semester of college part-time. I didn't need much to graduate, and saved one. So I have 1 semester left of athletic eligibility at the Division II level. Division III, you can only go as an undergrad if it's the same school you went as to play if you went as a graduate. So I'd have to restart as an undergrad to play Division III. But the idea was to play at Slippery Rock in Pennsylvania. I took my GRE and all that stuff, and write a book on the benches of Slippery Rock about a writer going to play a year of Division II football. It sounded romantic. And then I stood on the sidelines at a few Division I practices and saw the collisions, and I said, fuck that.
Mr. Neurotic Pants with this one.
And that is a story, by the way, we're telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. before the games this weekend or during the games. They've got a good TV set up there, too, in Midtown Brewing Company. But start your weekend with their outstanding brunch menu. They got mimosa flights, great beer selection, good place to have dinner, good place to take a family or friends, a group of people if you want to impress. I mean, it's just good menu, and really just the vibe there is absolutely outstanding. 402 South Washington in downtown Lansing.
Have you ever caught an inexplicable block on Twitter?
Have you?
Yeah. Dockich.
Oh, yeah.
Pat Caputo. Matthew Berry. Darren Rovell. And who else? And someone, I don't know. But I did, especially Dockich, though. I mean, if you're going to slang, I guarantee you I didn't say anything that harsh to him. But he was just blocking people that night. But Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert as well.
Holy shit. How many of these were earned?
I know Dan Gilbert's was earned. The others, I really don't know. Caputo, I have no idea. That's why I wish there was a function on Twitter that would let me know. I have no idea.
Yeah. If there was a way you could reach out to them one more time, hey, what did I do? Or
No, I don't really give a shit. I mean, it's Pat Caputo, no offense. But, I mean,
I don't know how many people block me. I know one.
Burkett.
There was a reporter at the LSJ there were two reporters who were dating and getting married at one point, and I don't know what went wrong with one of them. One of them didn't feel like they were treated that well, and I got lumped in, and the woman who was, I don't know, she blocked me for some reason. I never did anything wrong to either of them. I don't really know. He didn't block me, but she did, and I certainly never did anything wrong to her. I was certainly never not kind or anything. I just got lumped in with there was unjustly a feeling that somebody wasn't treated all that well or respected all that well, which was bullshit. It was actually on their side. But she blocks me to this day. I think I'm blocked.
Good for her. I mean, it's weird. Mr. Neurotic Pants with this one. Why are there so many black running backs and so few kickers?
It's cultural, man. Cultural. That's bullshit. It's cultural. I mean, they don't. I'm just saying, like, there's not. I mean, how many? It's a soccer thing. It's you show up if you're a black kid to practice. They put you at running back, right? I don't know.
Black dudes don't want to kick. They're good athletes.
How do you know that? Did anybody ask them?
Guys that are kickers are just not good enough to play football.
That's part of it too. They're usually on the soccer team, and
there's nothing about race involved with that. Stop it. Next from Neurotic Pants is MSU had a field goal yet this year. My memory sucks donkey balls. Maybe the more salient question, Graham, is if you think the decision to try unsuccessfully for 2 long, difficult field goals undermines Matt Coughlin's confidence.
It's a good question. I usually don't think long field goals because there's nothing at, when you're kicking from 60 yards, there's nothing really at stake. Nobody's expecting you to make that, right? But that said, when you're way short on a couple or you're way off, do you start to lose a little? I don't know, because the thing you got to be careful with Coughlin is that he has definitely had really good runs at MSU, but he's had periods where you couldn't really trust him. He's in his 6th year, so you do want to be a little careful with that. I don't know it's of tremendous concern yet, but if he starts missing 40-yarders, yes.
Grob up next. Boo to the people who can't get their 3 takes on one Twitter post. Grob. You're going first next Friday. Next one from Grob. The Wolverines' real rivalry is MSU, not Ohio State. You never see them on a Bucks message board or trolling the real signs of an intense rivalry.
So I've always thought this, and I've heard Michigan fans say this, and you can I think Michigan fans hate losing to Michigan State more than anything in either of those rivalries. I think beating Ohio State is how they measure themselves, but I think the thing they hate more than anything, and this may change with how often getting beat down by Ohio State may have reached that point that's similar to that, but I think losing to Michigan State is the worst thing for Michigan in that rivalry, and so there's an argument for it. And there's also an argument that if you can't take care of your in-state rival, and it's been pretty back and forth, you can't have an out-of-state rival as your primary rival. I would argue that is fair too. Oklahoma, Texas, you can't be primary rivals if you're not beating Oklahoma State. That should be like a code in football.
Grow with this one. What are your favorite foods and non-alcoholic beverages when watching TV?
what did I eat last night after midnight? Ice cream, pizza. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Non-alcoholic beverages. I like a good
Shasta,
bubbly water type thing. Coffee is what I love. Actually, I'll be frank. I love coffee. I drink a lot of coffee, and I love all sorts of foods. Obviously, I'm a fat fuck. So I like.
Well, let's be frank.
Yeah, pizzas and salads, and I eat a lot of healthy food. I just consume too much of it. That's really what it comes down to. I had a meeting with a nutritionist last week, and it was like we were going over my diet. She's like, "This is great," and I was like, "Yeah." The problem is that's like for 6 people what I just gave you, and I consume that all myself.
Nutritionist. Andy Welch, what's your favorite Lansing area golf course?
I'm a Groesbeck guy because I'm a Lansing guy. Used to love the Waverly Golf Course, which is no longer a thing. But I don't know. What's yours?
I would say Groesbeck. Does Hawk Hollow count as Lansing, right? Or
Lansing area, yeah.
Lansing area. I like Hawk Hollow. Is pretty good. John Crager up next. Why the hell are running shoes so expensive? You'd think they would be cheaper to promote people exercising, not deter them from it.
Yeah, it's a racist thing. It's bullshit.
It's more racist stuff? Running shoes?
I'll be honest. Like, no, I don't want to get into this because I don't know. But there are certain stores that sell tennis shoes and running shoes, but not basketball shoes. I'll put it like that.
Because they're a running store.
Why do you have tennis and not basketball?
Because they focus everything on tennis. I don't know.
Who focuses on tennis?
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
I don't know. I never looked at it that way. So
I'm just saying.
Okay, John Granger, have either one of you guys been to the Thumb area of Michigan? If so, where? If not, you're not missing much. Full disclosure, that's where I was raised and currently reside.
Yeah, I'm not been a big Thumb guy. I mean, I've been to the Thumb, but I'm more of a Lake Michigan guy, Northern Michigan, Leelanau, UP guy. I don't know. You a Thumb guy?
Bad Axe?
Yeah.
No, I can't say I've ever been there. John, with this one, Graham, what was the worst travel experience that you've had while working at the LSJ?
Boy, I've had a few, and so I mean, I've had some like flights canceled, missed flights, or I've had like 6 a.m. flights when you feel like you're coming down with a cold, and all you need is a great night's sleep, and instead you're going to get 2.5 hours after a late game. Like that is, I don't do the early flights anymore because of that.
Are you a person that gets offended if people wear flip-flops on a flight? No socks?
No, not really. Just keep them on. Just don't put your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
One of the worst was I was I forget what. This was the year that Michigan State loses to Alabama in the college football playoff. There was a basketball game at Penn State shortly thereafter that would have conflicted with the national title game. So none of us could book that. Because we didn't know if Michigan State, we probably thought they were going to lose to Alabama, but you couldn't book it because you might be covering football. And so late, Joe Rexroad and I found a cheap flight late to Baltimore, which is only like 3.5 hours to college. What's it called? Fucking Happy Valley State College. And it was like driving up through these mountains, and meanwhile, Joe's driving, and I'm trying to write this feature on Mike Ingram, the basketball coach at Lansing Community College, on a deadline, and just motion sickness sucked. I mean, I still remember the way I felt trying to pull that off. I'm like in the thing that takes you to the car rental, the shuttle, trying to write and try. It was just one of those things where it was a deadline mistake, but I just felt like crap the whole time because of that. Anyway, that's not. I mean, I've had great experiences. I don't know. I'm not complaining about any of it. We can cut this. Take this out in post.
Ken Chu up next. Can MSU's transfers from the ACC help the team prepare for Miami?
I don't.
Yes.
I guess some of them probably know some of these guys, and maybe there's some personnel questions. I would guess most of the scouting that happens with the coaches. But sure, if Chester Kimbrough, I guess he's in the SEC, but he might know a lot of the Miami guys, and certainly the guys in the ACC. Yeah, sure, absolutely. I suck at that answer. These last 2 questions, fix and post, please, Jason.
You got it. Ken with this one. Who said MSU's defense would score on the first play from scrimmage? I like that idea. Who said it?
I don't know, but it would be interesting if they actually did have the ball defensively and found a way to, like Shalik Calhoun, scoop it up and score, right? I mean, that would be, just to keep that going, it would be pretty incredible.
Yep. Next one from Ken Chu. Why the hell does it take FedEx 2 days to move a package from Lake Orion to Linden?
These are the deep questions that I wish I could answer for you. Because
lack of people driving, probably.
Well, sometimes FedEx. There are, like, there used to be a sorting, so this is just a mail thing. There used to be a sorting center in Lansing. So if you sent something from Lansing to Lansing, it was quick. I think if I send something to Jason, it goes through Grand Rapids now. Yep. I'm not sure on that, but it's like,
you're right.
It's fucked. It's fucked up, yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Silver Spring Spartan. Who has more swag, Oregon, Miami, or Tucker?
I would say right now, Oregon, who went into Ohio State and won. They have to have the most swag, right?
Yeah, why would Miami have more swag?
Miami's got no swag.
No.
Other than being.
Well, I mean, they have swag.
As a city,
turnover chain.
Yeah,
all right. Yeah. Silver Spring. Which program has the most self-deprecating fans? Miami fans seem to think the sky is falling.
Yeah, well, the problem is they've spent quite a while now being disappointed, and that's why. And so I think.
But at least you still have Miami, though. The beaches and stuff. Good weather.
Right, so they don't have to go, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
we have the winter to look forward to.
Self-deprecating. It's sort of the fans that think things. I mean, look, Michigan State forever has had an inferiority complex. They've just had more winning of late, which has created more expectations. But it's a good question. I would guess Purdue. Purdue's probably my choice.
All right, last one from Silver Spring. How am I supposed to enjoy my Saturday if we don't score on the first play?
You don't. You just give up. Give up on life.
Turn it off. Eric Uzanik with this question. What's the worst head coaching spot in football, college or pro?
So I've got a weird one. I mean, there are a lot. Yeah, I mean, UConn's awful because you're not in a league and you're trying to recruit to stores. I think a one that people would think was great, what would be hard, is Hawaii. First of all, Honolulu is a big city. It's not like being in Maui. It's not every part of Honolulu is beautiful. It's not what you think all the time. And everything's a long flight. Everything, getting people out there, it's not for everybody. Like, it would be a grind to build something. You would think, Hawaii, that far away from stuff. Their facilities suck, although I think they're reworking their stadium now. I think that would actually be a really hard job that would be less enjoyable than you might think.
Next one from Eric. Did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he'd put on a dress and play a girl bunny?
I did not. I'm assuming you did, though, Eric. I mean, you wouldn't ask that otherwise, correct?
Yeah. I hope you Skymint was in you. Lucas, up next. What's the longest you had to wait for your tax refund to come back? I filed in January, and it's finally in my bank account. Thanks, big brother.
Well, that does seem ridiculously long. I don't know.
Is that COVID-related or?
Yeah, it's never been that long for me. I mean, I usually owe these days, so I put it off till the last second. But, yeah, I don't think it's ever been that long when I've gotten money back.
The write-off king. Jason Akins, heading to Vegas this weekend. What are your top Saturday and Sunday soccer picks? Me and you, let's make mad loot.
So I gave these out on Wednesday, and I'll tweet this out later with our picks as well. I love Manchester United against on the money line. It's a good value against West Ham on the road because West Ham's without their top striker, red card accumulation, I believe. And then I like Chelsea, I believe, is at Tottenham, and Tottenham's getting too much love, and they're beat up too. And that just because it's a road game, but Tottenham has not been as good as their record this year. Big fan of that. Also like Wolverhampton at home this week.
MSU who? Up next. Did you know Couch once received a $1.5K loan from his parents? Didn't pay it back because of his privilege. Spent it all in 3 days, then had to work selling electronics for light mobsters. Did you ever hear that? Has he ever mentioned that story worth telling before?
Just a couple times. Apparently,
1.5K. I like that.
MSU who is like my wife at this point, where MSU who is heard it all before. But it was definitely a story worth telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company, without question. Flint
City Handball Club. Why aren't more people playing handball in Michigan?
Outstanding. People should. I'm telling you, the team handball, I think we would love if we played it. It's like dodgeball / soccer / basketball all in one. Like I don't know. We just don't have enough of it. But I think if we were introduced to it in like gym class in 7th grade, we'd all be like, I want to play this. This is fucking awesome.
If I told you there was a handball team in Michigan, would you pick Flint?
Yes, actually, that seems right.
No, you would. Graham Carpenter up next. How do you pass stats, legal business management, and macroeconomics?
Very carefully. I have no,
Don't ask
no
me.
idea.
I have no Christ,
stats
no.
I'm good at, but
Use a calculator. Graham Carpenter. Any plus money line bets do you like this weekend? Any Graham?
Again,
any
I think,
minus 675 parlays you're gonna going on?
Yeah, no, it's so that's what he means. Not like the Michigan. I think he means the Michigan State and Purdue. Michigan State and Purdue are the two I like a lot, and I like the Rams at the Colts as a line -4. But I'll put those bets out again later. But if you're going to do, 2 bets, both could lose, but still have great value. Michigan State and Purdue are the 2+ college football games that make a lot of sense. Probably make too much sense. Like everybody thinks those are the lines that are going to happen, which means they won't. But anyway, that makes sense to me.
Graham Carpenter, have you ever been to Art Prize?
Strangely, I have not. But and if I wasn't in quarantine, I would go surely, and I urge you to check it out, because when you're there, you can go to the Skymint tent. They are the premier sponsor of Art Prize, and the tent, I've seen from their photo, looks outstanding. It looks like a lot of fun going on in there. And again, when you go to any Skymint location, use the Couch and the Rube promo code CouchandRube20 for 20% off. Go to skymint.com for location information and daily specials.
Raccoon Graham up next. Number 1, what's your favorite tailgating drink? I went to the Youngstown State game and left near halftime. I drank too much. 2, how can I sneak a 40-ounce Bud Light into Spartan Stadium for the Nebraska game? 3, favorite strain or gummy to take before the game. Also, more details on the tailgate.
We'll have more details at some point here shortly. I just can't jump ahead on that. What's your favorite strain of gummy to take before a game?
Oh, definitely some sort of sativa.
Yeah,
sativa is definitely my go-to choice.
That's the Joe Ingles of weed right there. Getting a 40-ounce in the Spartan Stadium, not easy to do, but you got to go liquor bottles, like small little airplane bottles. Something you can keep in your pants would be the real key, probably, to doing that. My favorite tailgating drink is something that doesn't feel heavy, something that's refreshing, light, like a light, refreshing beer if it's a hot day. It really depends on the day, right? If you're out on a cold day, like what you want, so much of what you want to drink is based on the weather around you.
Hans Jurgen up next. I don't think MSU has enough speed on defense. Can Skymint supply performance-enhancing drugs to MSU? Pride is on the line. Roid up. I don't think Hans knows what THC is.
Yeah, Hans had a number of questions today that did not make the cut.
I didn't see the one Hans question on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Hans. Next, speaking of, Graham, what if you found out that 95% of the Twitter accounts that give hot takes and questions were fictitious and created by Jason so he could spend time with you? #hoax, #loneliness.
He would make things easier to read on himself, though. That's the thing. I don't think But
I'm honored you think that I would go through all that trouble, though. I'm literally the laziest person ever.
I've never suspected Jason.
Yeah, thank you. On to Upper Deck Jerk Guy. How many adult magazines did you have stashed away when you were a teen? What was the best one?
What
was that, Kermit? Was that Kermit the Frog or Yoda? Who's coming out there?
No, it was
Jugs.
The one thing that used to show up was the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue that would actually show up in the mail, and I would try and hide before my dad realized it. But yeah, there was one point where
the pages were all stuck together.
I had a Playboy subscription at one point when I had the.
That's not an adult magazine.
When I was part of my what's it called? My P.O. box downtown years.
If there's more articles than porn, it's not a porn mag.
Yeah, I didn't have that, but I do remember my mom like cleaning out my sock drawer once for me, and the magazine just being gone, and we never said a word about it. It was one of those awkward things. Like, God damn it, that's not great.
Where's my barely legal, Ma?
What am I gonna? Yeah, no, it's.
You can't say anything. It's exactly the move. Upper Deck Jerk Guy. How much does Michigan State need to beat Miami by to really get people talking?
It's not, you can. They just got to be in control. I think if they look like the better team start to finish, it's not so much, or they run away with it late. But you can have a game that's only a 10-point game where it just felt like a bigger score than that. It's got to feel like control.
Next one from the Jerk Guy. Guess on percentage of Spartan fans in Miami.
I'm going to guess they're going to get at least 5K, and I'm going to guess. So I'm at least, what is that out of if it's truly 50? That's 5%. No, 5K. 10%. Sorry. Somebody asked me about passing math classes. So maybe 10%?
Yeah,
I think
7.5%. Next from the Jerk Guy. Finally tell us about that sexy dream he had about Jason. Now that would be a story worth telling. What happened?
I don't remember this. Was this I've never had a sex dream about you. I promise.
Thank God. Hope not.
And I wouldn't even bring up the sponsor if I did, for sure.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
What do you think about Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend's balls?
I do think it's weird that a lot of people are like, who don't know who Nicki Minaj is, are doing daily updates on cable television about her. It's strange.
Yeah,
it's a little bizarre.
We don't have enough to talk about.
Yeah.
Next from the Jerk Guy. When was the last time someone told you, please put some clothes on?
Last week.
When I was at Deja Vu. Lady told me to put it away. Last one from the Jerk Guy. How's the Yoda voice coming? Oh God.
COVID I have now. I'm struggling. I lost confidence. I'm gonna work on it. I got time. I'm in quarantine. I will work on the fucking Yoda voice and get it better, because that was brutal.
Man.
We'll fix that and a lot of the rest of the show in post. Want to thank Skymint. Again, Skymint this weekend at Art Prize. Check out the Skymint tent in Grand Rapids. Also, thanks to Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. Give them a call, 248-626-2000. Let them know Jason and Graham, Couch in the Rube, sent you. Free consultation. See if they're a fit. I think you're going to like these guys. They want to get your money working for you. Thanks to Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com. Place your tailgating orders for tailgates, or just stop by either location, Lake Lansing Road or the Williamson location, and pick up a dozen. And thanks to Midtown Brewing Company. Great place to start your weekend. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Have a great one. Couch in the Roof.